Hello everyone, my name is Agnes Eisleitner, and about 4 years ago I was in my last year of high school when something really fascinating happened. A perceived stagnant world started moving. The Arab Spring was disrupting the Middle East. I was fascinated and also I was angry because Western media immediately destined the revolution to fail. So I decided to go and see for myself what was going on and what were people really thinking on ground. What resulted from my trip to Cairo was a short film about the Arab Spring, which is called State of Revolution. And it was awarded with the Golden Nickel of the Youth category by Ars Electronica. Okay, I'm going to continue talking. I have, in the pursuit of the passion, what I want to do, I have tried to go into fashion. During high school, every summer, I worked for a designer. Then I went to Los Angeles to work for a PR firm in fashion. So this was the State of Revolution. There's fashion, or can you see it? Okay. Anyway, I've worked for a PR firm in Los Angeles in summer. Then I went to New York Fashion Week, which eventually all this fashion eventually resulted in me doing my own fashion project, which was called Global Citizen, where I produced a small collection with local elderly tailors. Yes. And later, I'm always concerned about democracy, but I was particularly concerned when I started this project. It was a pilot project. It was an online learning platform called Wahlzuckel, where I tried to educate young people about civic education and how democracy works. The site is currently offline because it's being rebuilt according to what I found out how it worked. So here you can see my label, the online learning platform. And last summer, I initiated a fine dining pop-up restaurant where the challenge was to create a fine dining menu with locally grown food and also with hand-picked foods from the woods, as you can see here. Amidst all these projects, I made one of the best decisions in my life. I decided to go to law school, where I'm still up to date. And with my, I wouldn't say legal knowledge yet, but with my legal attitude, I'm looking forward to contribute to the topic of publicy in the future city. I'm looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yasuaki Kakehi from Japan. I'm a media artist, and I'm also a researcher in the field of computer-human interaction and augmented reality. And actually, I attended the Future Innovators Summit last year, and that was very interesting, great opportunity for me to make a new network. And I'm very happy to come back here again. And this year, it's working? No. Oh, the video doesn't work. So, okay, anyway. This year, I'm exhibiting the piece on the rooftop space of this building. And this is a kind of volumetric display. And the rooftop space is so nice place to exhibit this work because it's open air and there's a sunlight coming to the work directly. And yeah, unfortunately, this video doesn't work. So this is a kind of volumetric display using special transparent glasses. And you can see the pixels animated on the transparent glasses. And it can control its transparency very quickly and interactively. So it is not a transmission type display. It's just a diffused light from outside. So according to the condition of sunlight, the texture or appearance of this display can change. So we can notice the slightly change of the ambient condition through this display. So it's one interesting point of this work for me. And regarding my recent research, especially in the laboratory in the Keio University, in my laboratory, we have developed various types of physical media using the characteristics of physical material. For example, the floating particle on the left top one, it's named the Lapidus bag. It's now exhibited in the Electronica Center, so you can try it later. It's a floating particle in the air. It's controlled by the ultrasound sonic speakers. And the moving changing object or texture changing the physical pixels or color changing physical pixels are recent example of our research. They are controlled by the energy fields such as ultrasound or invisible light or airflow or water or something like that. So that can change its appearance or behavior physically by using the computational resources. And oh, it's not working as well. Oh, so it's not working. So yeah, I cannot show the video, but yeah, we held a 9 months long-term exhibition in the ICC, Intercommunication Center in Tokyo last year until this March. And in this exhibition, we exhibited 30 works there. And one of our challenge of this exhibition was how we can bring out the media artwork, interactive artwork from the dark or closed space to much more bright and open space. And so we didn't use any projection-based work. And we have developed various kinds of physical media which can change its shape or color or behavior, something like that. So yeah, please check all of the information from our laboratory website. And finally, I also talk about a little bit about the relationship between my activity and the post city. And as a media artist, I have also tried to install this kind of interactive media toward our daily life space, public space. And especially as a member of Publicy, we have designed various types of public art, for example, the graphic wall paint in the street, or interactive public furnitures, or signage designed hospitals, or we have also designed various kinds of exhibitions for kids. And in this, how to say, the deploy of the media art into the city, we are thinking they are not necessarily based on the high technology, but we have to consider and find the best coupling between the technology and the specific spatial characteristics. And how we can design the personal, private experience in the physical, shared public spaces are still ongoing, interesting challenge for us. And from this kind of background and experiences, I'd like to contribute the discussion of this workshop. Thank you very much.
Hi. I'll filibuster while the PowerPoint comes on. My name's Gary Schwartz, and thank you, Derek, for inviting me here. I'm so excited to be here. Are we on? There's a globe? Yes. So I was born, start the beginning, in a small mining town in Central Africa. And I see there are a lot of Japanese people here today. I spent 5 years studying the intellectual history of Japan, in Japan. And then for my sins, I am now the CEO of a company called Impact Mobile in Toronto. It's about 700 people. And our primary objective, which is relevant to this gathering, is we connect people and companies with their end consumers. So we work with Coca-Cola and Cisco and Wells Fargo and Walgreens in that capacity. We also run 911 services for nationally, and also on a level connect municipalities with their citizens. So we do a lot of things in connecting people. I also run a number of organizations. I'm director of the Location-Based Marketing Association globally, and chair emeritus of the MEF and the IAB. To get back to this little mining town in Zambia, in our library, we had Punch magazines. I don't know if you know Punch magazines, but they go back a few millennia. This particular magazine was in our library. And I'm writing a book right now with Simon Schuster called If Things Could Speak. And in this magazine, which was from 1906, an almanac, December, they talked about what was going to happen in 1907. A lot of it was tongue-in-cheek. Here is a little vignette about fireworks for daytime consumption. But one of the cartoons was this forecast, and they talked about the development of telegraphy and the scene from Hyde Park, a scene that we would probably see in a park in Linz, which is two people with a connected device on their lap, this box with this ticker tape. And this was tongue-in-cheek of what would happen in the future. But it's exactly what's happening now. You have two figures not communicating with one another, rings a bell, and the lady receiving ambulatory messages and the gentleman racing results, right? Data on one side, connecting people, with people they care about in social on the other. Love the antennas up on the hats. But as I write this book and I talk about, what is happening and how prescient this particular image is, I think about what's happening now in the forecast for, 2016 and what we'll be talking about at this event. And, how Uber has the warmth and the shared economy, the warmth that the taxi just doesn't have. How Instacart brings a face and a warmth to shopping that the supermarket doesn't have. How Airbnb brings home to places which you have no relationship with. And so what we'll be talking about in our session is, of course, connecting people in this public space. And there are two tools that we'll be looking at. I run a little incubator out of university in Canada, McGill. And two of the projects that have come out of that is Cardboard Stage, which is the ability for young people to actually publish their works, their performances to a larger audience on non-traditional stages called Cardboard Stage, using VR, but also traditional footage. And Derek's already gone into great detail. ThinkWire. ThinkWire is used here as a brainstorming tool to create a narrative to social media, but it is also being used in politics. We're launching this into national publications to allow for the disparate sound bites in Twitter to actually be formalized into a discussion with a context and a moderator, which is very exciting for us, and we continue to use this tool to brainstorm and ideate. So thank you very much.
So my name is Anton Dunzendorfer and I work at the AIT, the Austrian Institute of Technology. So what is the AIT? It's the largest non-university research institute in Austria with around 1,300 people working there in 5 departments dealing with the topics like energy, mobility, digital safety and security, health and environment, and innovation systems located in several locations here in Austria. Who is Anton? So I'm happy to be here in Linz because I originally come from an area in north from Linz. It's called the Mühlviertel. Nowadays I live in Vienna, but for me I think I would say in my original language, ich bin immer nur ein waschechter Mühlviertler und bin immer wieder froh, wenn ich mal daheim vorbeischauen kann. I studied business informatics at the Johannes Kepler University here in Linz, and then I worked in several research and management positions in ICT research and the healthcare system. Now I'm head of the business unit Assistive Healthcare Information Technology in the Digital Safety and Security Department of the AIT, and our main research fields are telemonitoring and therapy management, active and assisted living, medical research networks, and predictive modeling. Here you can see the environment where our research is located. So there are many topics, many objects, and many things to be considered. And what we are doing is in a little bit more structured way that we do our ICT and health research dealing with the fields of the different drivers, the different areas, enablers, and preconditions. Our actual work is, for example, in the telemonitoring and therapy management, is the closed-loop healthcare concept, where we are doing telemonitoring using the Keep in Touch technology. So I'm looking forward for very interesting and fruitful discussions the next days, and thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Federman. I'm from Canada. And my focus now is very different than it was 15 years ago when I was collaborating with Derek de Kerkhove at the McLuhan program at the University of Toronto. At a time when I came up with this crazy idea that we're no longer private, that now we live also in public, and created this reversal idea called Publicy. Right now, my work is focused on organizations, formal organizations, informal organizations, crazy movements that pop up and then disappear, and leadership, organization culture. So I work on the transformation of organization culture from the old industrial age model to something that's more contemporary. Contemporary leadership being about creating collaborative environments where people come together, share experiences, and out of those shared experiences, an alternate future becomes possible. Because if you don't need an alternate future, you don't need a leader. You only need a good manager, which is what we used to have, but now we need leaders. One of those alternate futures is indeed the post-city that we'll be talking about today. So imagine you're in the post-city and you meet somebody for coffee, you're out on a date, you have a job interview, you meet a clerk in the shop. And on your implanted device, because by then we'll all have implants on our retinas, immediately all the information that is known about that person among a variety of databases pops up. And we now are in the world of experiencing publicy. We're no longer the private person. Publicy is not about transparency. I apologize to my friend who focuses on transparency. It's about translucency. So we can sort of see through, but not exactly. Okay? So the idea is we get this image of people based on the information that is shared. And in this information that's shared, our identity is transformed. It is co-created. So part of the identity is created by how I show up, who I am, how I relate to people, what I look like. Part of that identity is created collaboratively with my social network. So I put things out on Facebook, on Twitter, I put things out on Instagram and YouTube and all sorts of other things. And people who follow me or connect with me will come up with their own idea of who I am. And it's a funny situation that I have. When I meet people in my professional life, they have this very interesting idea of me, and then when they see me on the street dancing salsa, because I organize an outdoor salsa party every week in Toronto, downtown Toronto, they say, is this the same guy who was the professor? Conversely, when I'm the professor in the class, one of my students said, didn't I see you dancing at the social? How can my professor be dancing, right? So there's this disconnect. People create meaning about me, and that's part of the identity that we co-create. The final aspect is much more nefarious. It is about the big data simulacrum, the simulation of me that's projected algorithmically out of databases over which who knows who has control, right? WikiLeaks, Edward Snowden, even the Ashley Madison incident talks about things that are created about me. And we absolutely don't know what this simulation is until we bump into it when we're trying to cross a border, for example, or when a human resources department does a search, pulls out something about my shopping habits, or perhaps worse. The way this works is that when I show up, my personal thing, you see who I am. This is who I project. I have full control over that identity that is created. In my social network, it's a little bit cartoonish, but I have mostly control of what I put out, but the meaning is very different. And so it's a cartoon projection of who I am. That big data simulacrum that is created algorithmically, well, that's something out of science fiction. It's a dystopia. It's something that is created that may be part of me, may not be part of me. And the problem with big data is the signal-to-noise ratio is really, really low. In other words, you create correlations that project meaning. But there are so many spurious correlations that are created in big data, and we have no way of knowing which one is right and which one is problematic. And I have absolutely no control over that identity. So when I meet myself, it almost seems like a Where's Waldo convention. Each one of these images is part of me, of my identity. They all look different, but they all look similar. So that's a bit too confusing. Let's sort of bring it back down. If I'm meeting myself and I'm seeing myself through my Google glasses, right? So it's this, who is this person? Publicy allows us to ask some specific questions. Number one, how do I know my multi-self? How do I gain knowledge of who I am in this post-city world? How do we protect ourselves and our identity from the effects of this really convenient technology, really beneficial technology? When I landed in Linz, I immediately turned on the net and I had the Google map. I knew how to get from the train station to my hotel. I could find my way to the salsa party last night that was happening at Remember, which was so much fun. So this is so convenient technology, but now Google knows where I was, where I am, what I'm doing, what I've purchased, right? And so how do I protect myself against the effects of this technology that creates me as a commodity, that somehow dehumanizes and objectifies myself? You put these together, and we ask the very key question, how do we construct a critical pedagogy of the contemporary self? In other words, how do we create learning and knowledge about the relationships of power, about how we control our identity, keeping attention with all of those companies, organizations, governments, political parties that want to take that from me? How to create this critical pedagogy? To put it in very basic terms, if I was to meet myself in a dark cyber alley, would I like the person I meet? And indeed, would I even recognize the person I meet? These are the conversations of Publicy.